Hold it down for when NASCAR goes racing in Atlanta. That's right. It's our best bets for the Cup, O'Reilly, and Truck Series next, right here on the Backroad.
I don't drive a Monte Carlo, and my truck ain't painted black. It ain't got a big white number 3 turning left around the track.
Diecast NASCAR fans out there.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad, In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock to break down everything there was at Daytona and everything to come at Atlanta/EchoPark Motor Speedway. It's really nice, Seth, to have the season getting fully back into swing.
Oh, Elliot, a lot of chatter out there on the internet after this weekend's races, a lot of dough in the pocket as well. My best Daytona 500 weekend that I've had in my gambling career. So everything is looking good. The world is shining right now, my friend, going for a ski trip this weekend. So going to have a lot of racing going on there as well while we're hitting the slope. So life's good, my friend. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, not too bad. Just glad the season's back into swing. You go through all the emotions at Daytona, the great finish that we had, all the craziness of the weekend. You get to do it all over again next weekend, the weekend after, and at least on the Cup side, 34 of the next 35 weekends, we get some NASCAR ripping. And then one of those off weekends, a little bit of O'Reilly and Truck Series too. It was an exciting weekend at Daytona. That's how we'll start our show when we get rolling in the rear view, when we review everything there was at Daytona Speed Weeks and the Daytona 500. In the Horizon Forecast, we'll break down all there is to know about Atlanta. It's formerly known as EchoPark Speedway, but we're probably going to call it Atlanta for the most part. You know what we're talking about. And we'll give you our best bets for all 3 series on the live show in the parking garage props. That's going to be a lot of fun. Excited to, as fun as the off-season shows are, it's nice to be back in the swing of things, ripping the show the way we want to. That's a lot of fun. And it's been a lot of fun in the IBT Racing family as well. Always have a good time over there. Free to access the chat now, as it's been for the last little while. Also free to enter memorabilia giveaways. We'll get to that in a minute. But for just $3.99 a month or $36 for the year, just $1 a points race, you get access to the exclusive weekly betting model, which we have beefed up this year. Chris Colicchio been doing some great stuff along with yourself and Ryan for my fantasy race, putting that all together and really trying to help out our betting cards as best they can. Worked really well for you for Daytona. My bet's not so much, but we'll get to that later. You get access to our full betting cards. I just threw in my full Atlanta card as well as my full season-long card, which I forgot to throw in there before Daytona, but now you have it. And it's an entry into the head-to-head matchups contest too, which started off last week. I was one of the ones on the plus side rather than the minus side. We'll talk about that at the end of the show too. So we were promoting this for a couple of weeks. Our Shane Van Gisbergen autographed diecast giveaway, which we now have a winner for, Seth.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations to Tony, one of the longtime, one of the most active members of our Discord community, man. This guy is a linchpin over there, just always chatting it up, always having absolute hammers, parlays, you name it. Tony's over there and just a really cool dude. So excited, Tony. Congratulations to you, man. Great having you in the IBT Racing family, and hope you enjoy this SVG diecast. If you can just go ahead and DM me your shipping address on Discord, send me a DM there, and I'll go ahead and answer that and get that shipped out to you here in the next couple weeks. Thanks, man.
Yeah, congratulations on the big win. Won't be the last giveaway that we got going on. Sure. Even rooting through my bins here at home and probably going to add a couple of giveaway items throughout the year. We'll have to see what pops out there. So that's a lot of fun. You can join for free. The link is in the episode description in-betweenmedia.com/chat. Keep in mind, that's not just the NASCAR chat. You also get access to the football family, entertainment family, and golf family. Golf getting back into full swing too. Football slowing down a little bit, but then we're going to pick it right up with the combine NFL draft here in Pittsburgh, everything like that. Entertainment family, exciting stuff going on with Survivor 50 as well. Seth, it really is just the place to be. And it's been a lot of fun over there. I know I've said that 3-4 times. Yeah. It's the best way to describe it, man. Fun little family we got going over there.
That's the best thing we have going for us right now. Let's just be honest. That is a good, that between that and this YouTube channel, this particular program, Elliot, we are very, very grateful for that, man. It is such a blast doing all the different contests with everyone, chatting it up. I was sweating out Michael McDowell, and it was like, we're going in the last lap. I had a unit and a half that I could gain back if I take the cash out. I'm like, boys, do I take the cash out? Do I take the cash out? And then before even anyone could respond, I took the cash out, and I was like, man, I'm going to miss out on a 41 ticket here because I took a unit and a half cash out. But hey, it came through for me, and the people came through for me all weekend as well. It was great conversation over there, Elliot. So a lot of fun things happening there. Really appreciate everyone who's come along for the ride there. And also the new YouTube channel as well, Elliot, where IBT is now expanding. We have all the new sub channels, including the Backroad. Elliot, you actually just had a race recap short we dropped earlier this week as well. I know you're going to be doing those a lot, reacting to some news on there as well. So if you want more of us than just the Thursday night live stream, head over there to youtube.com/@thebackroad, and that's going to get hooked up. Link to that in the episode description. And of course, we'll always collaborate with that channel after the fact as well. So fun stuff, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The plan is to have kind of a race recap short out every week. This week went out a little later in the week. Going to try to have those out Sunday night or Monday. So if you want some instant reaction to how the race went, that'll be the place to go. Before we get into looking at the Daytona bets, want to shout out some folks in the chat here. We got Marcus, and hey, throw it in the comments, just like Marcus says. He's really reliable with this. Throw it in the comments your best bets for the weekend. Who's your pick to win in Atlanta? For Marcus, I have a pretty good guess for Marcus. He's looking at Christopher Bell, last year's winner at Atlanta, and someone who does look pretty good in the model. We got Eric Larson in the chat here. I'll pick Logano, but I'm really curious how Spire does. All three have shown speed there. Maybe a little something about Spire we can chat briefly about that was late breaking today. And then Denise here. Hello, boys in the IBT family. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thanks to those checking us out later on, too. I know live viewers are fun to rock and roll in the live chat, but we appreciate you guys checking it in later, too, if you're busy on Thursday evenings. Appreciate everyone on Apple Podcasts, too, the audio version. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think about it. We certainly have a lot of fun with that, too. Tons of fun, man. Fun's the word, and fun was certainly the word over the weekend. Daytona 500, Daytona Speed Weeks action. Let's look back in the rear view.
Baby, that's how you do it. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. You are the man. No way! We did it! Yeah!
So, of course, we have to start off with the Great American Race, and best place to start is the last lap, where we thought maybe 4, 5, 6 different drivers are going to have a shot to win. The beverage I'm ripping tonight, some Cider Boys Blackberry Wild, and it was a wild last lap. Tyler Reddick for 2311 Racing ends up taking home the checkered flag. We thought it might be Hocevar. We thought it might be McDowell. We thought it might be Stenhouse. We thought it might be Chase Elliott. We thought it might be Zane Smith for a minute there, but I thought it might be Riley Herbst even. But Tyler Reddick in that Chumba Casino 45 car walks away with the win for Michael Jordan. Big time win for that team. And as I said in that short, that went up a couple of days ago, probably the biggest win in the history of 2311 Racing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the Great American Race, especially with everything this organization had to go through over the past 12 months. People still trying to make up stories about him on the internet, right? I mean, this is just a great win. And, you know, you heard from MJ, like this means as much to him as winning a NBA title. And I think it's just a time to reflect a little bit, like Elliot, like, we have the world's most popular athlete probably in the history of sport, right? And he is all in on NASCAR Cup Series racing, dude. Doesn't get any better. And great story for Tyler Reddick too, right? This is a guy who tremendous adversity as a parent, as a human last season, winless, and comes out and gets his first win. Anyone who took that season win total 1.5 has to be just absolutely licking their chops already, Elliot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That looks really nice right now. And the biggest story of the race, probably outside of that, the big one happens right at the end of stage 2. Justin Allgaier goes up for a little block on Denny Hamlin. Neither of them give an inch. Knocks out a lot of decent cars. Knocks around some cars that end up finishing the race. DNFs a few others. And for Allgaier, I mean, Denny Hamlin has said he'll accept 20% of the blame. I think he's even taken too much for that early in the race. having a part-time guy like Allgaier, don't get me wrong, junior fan, love the opportunity for Allgaier, but I feel like that was just kind of a cause and effect of not really doing Cup Series racing that much and ended up taking out a lot of good cars and really changing the race.
Yeah, you and I are probably some of the biggest little Gator fans and backers and betters across the internet. But it was a bit of an aggressive move, especially that early in the race. Like, just cut your losses, and if you have to shift to a different row or even get put to the middle, that's all right. You live and fight for another day. Like, that's kind of the Dale Jr. special, right? So don't love seeing that for not only Gator but Chris Stapleton, Junior Motorsports as a whole, Dale. So bummer. And then you get the bombshell news that we thought maybe that Dale might be putting on back a helmet in the Cup Series and go racing one more time. And then he's like, no, I was just saying, like, hey, my wife was on board, but I don't want to do it. So, hey, Gator year 3, I'm here for it. I think that's the year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. See if that comes back together again. Lower series, some really good racing as well, too. The O'Reilly series, I mean, we knew it. If we didn't know it, we should have known it. Austin Hill is inevitable. Bunch of guys had some shots at him late in the race, and they just couldn't make it happen. Austin Hill winning these races. Jesse Love, the one that could kind of move and shake with him, tried to move and shake around. Didn't work out for him. He ends up 9th or something like that, while Austin Hill takes his umpteen thousandth win on super speedways in the O'Reilly series. I mean, they'll have another crack at him this week at Atlanta, but, I mean, it's impossible to go any other direction but Austin Hill right now.
It's felt like some old school hazing where, they're trying to go up and poke the bear one-on-one. It's not really like a gang effort, right? And then all of a sudden, like, Austin Hill is like, he's wounded, right? He's got to puke and rally. He's got to head to the back at least till, 11th or 12th, and then come back up through the pack. And car wasn't handling great. And it's like, that's kind of what I'd like to see, is like, you kind of have to like gang up on him a little bit, right? It just felt like occasionally you'd see one car here or there try to make a move on him. It didn't work. He'd close the door, they'd fall back, and then everyone just kind of get back in line. And it was one of those things, like, I knew I should probably be betting Austin Hill on a 3-1 outright last week, but my heart just wouldn't let me, because I just kind of wanted to deny it a little bit longer. And last year in this race at Atlanta, I was on Austin Hill. Again, I should probably be on Austin Hill, but I don't think I'm going to be. So, yeah, it's one of those things. But overall, like, I don't want to say it, but I think, like, and I'm a big O'Reilly series, guys, the super speedways there are getting a little bit stale, just because you do have RCR dominating most of the field on pure speed, and then just their blocking is outstanding. So it was kind of a pretty much of a snoozer race until the end got dicey there. The end got fun of that you had a lot of guys after a couple of those wrecks took out a lot of the front runners. Your Parkers of the world. You also had your Jordan Andersons up there battling those types of guys. So it was fun, but it was really a race for second, Elliot. We need a win without Austin Hill market, I think.
Yeah, man, that would be nice on these super speedways. It's not that nobody had a shot. I mean, the last lap, Brendan Poole gets a great push. Just handle it. Yeah, Brendan Poole, that would have been an exciting one. Jordan Anderson gets up to the back bumper of the 21, can't do anything but shove him forward and hand him the win. I said at the time, I think of the Discord, 32 should have shipped the 21 to Abu Dhabi, thrown him in the catch fence, got his first win there, but didn't work out for Jordan Anderson.
I said it all week. Jordan Anderson, this guy is going to ride around in 30th, let everyone take themselves out, and he's a team owner. He knows what this equipment costs. He pays the bills. He ain't going to do that.
Yeah, and that's a smart decision. The analogy on Austin Hill, I think Jeff Gluck on the Teardown used this. He said it's like those videos where it's 100 men versus one gorilla, and the gorilla's Austin Hill. You can't just go one-on-one on him. You got all gang up. You got to have guys jump on his back, everything like that. And that's just how it is, and we'll see if they've learned anything, and we'll take it to Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah, my analogy, it's the guy in the fraternity. He's the pledge, but he's a big dude, right? So, like, this guy can absolutely put him back. Like, there was this, I don't know if you ever met my buddy, my brother's buddy, Colin from IUP, Elliot, but this guy could, like, one sip and it's gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is this guy and big, but this guy's a big hoss. Colin's not a big guy. This guy's a big hoss. So he needs to, like, drink 100 beers and then you get after him. So yeah, I'm with Jeff Gluck, taking it in a little bit of a different direction, but the same type of vibe there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if I had pledged a fraternity in college, then I could have been that storyline. All right, so yeah, absolutely. Chris bringing up a good point here. Can't stand the guy, but Austin Hill at Atlanta feels inevitable too. Yeah. It's won 5 of the 8 races on the new track surface, and yeah, the race is sponsored by his sponsor, Bennett Transportation, 250. I think it's Hill or Love, and that's exactly what we'll talk about when we get to the bets. But it's Hill or Love on super speedways. unless, what was it? He was either Daytona or Atlanta. A couple years back, Austin Hill has a mechanical problem, gets sent to the garage. Jesse Love wins anyway. Only shot you have is if they both get involved in a wreck. Then it's kind of wide open. But when you see that happen, I think back to last summer's Atlanta race, all the big hitters taken out in a crash in stage 2. You were able to have those guys who really hadn't done a lot of winning lately, really mix it up at the front of the field. And man, I was watching those last couple of laps again recently. That summer Atlanta race last year might have been one of the better races, better finishes that I've seen in NASCAR in maybe the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. That was insane.
Yeah, that's very fair. It's been a very different style of racing than Daytona. I mean, we're bearing the lead a little bit. And we're not the type of people to really come on here and harp and, kind of give in to the groupthink out there on the internet. But start of stage 3 was rough in the 500, right? Like that was pretty rough.
It was a good time to take a nap if you needed a little nap before the finish.
Yeah, unfortunately, I fell asleep in early stage 2, so I was kind of already past the napping window, right? So that didn't help me out very much. And I already cashed my Bubba Wallace over 3.5 laps led on the last lap of stage 2, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But yes, so honestly, the race we haven't broke down, the truck race, that was the star of the weekend. Like let's just be honest. I mean, you got Cletus out there absolutely ripping it, sending it down under after 7 laps, like giving some just great interviews before and after. Smoke out there on the track, a little bit of a squirrely bird early, and then Smoke comes in and starts, getting a hold of his truck, finding that right setup there, and then gets taken out. But Elliot, please break down the rest of that truck race if you would.
Yeah, I mean, that was the disappointment. Cletus falls victim to what a lot of people have fallen victim to. Turn 4 at Daytona. You're down on the low side, get a little loose, and as he said, didn't check before he wrecked himself. Yeah, a little overcorrection. And that's tough because the two biggest storylines were Cletus, who wrecked less than 10 laps in, and Tony Stewart, who gets wrecked before the end of stage 2, trying to just stay out of the mess and ends up getting in the mess. Jake Garcia, I think, put him in the wall. Still was a great finish, though. A lot of moving and shaking at the front. Looked like it might have been Kaden Honeycutt's race. A couple other guys mixing it up there, but a 4-wide finish. Chandler Smith right on the bottom says, "Thank you very much. I'll take this checkered flag," and gets his first win of the year. Kind of funny in general. Front Row Motorsports, one of the teams suing NASCAR, wins the truck race. RCR, one of the teams heavily involved in that lawsuit, separately wins the O'Reilly race, and then 2311 wins the Daytona 500. Heck of a weekend for sure. But yeah, that truck race, wild finish. Congrats to Chandler Smith getting the win there. And man, oh man, just some absolutely wild trucking. And this week even has a heck of an entry list too. Any other thoughts on how the truck race ended?
Well, it's convenient that you don't mention Gio Ruggiero, who is just
yeah, right. Of course, it had just been. I was more thinking of me adding the Gio outright for O'Reilly and then having him crash.
Right, but you want to come with me on a truck outright when I've been or the top 5 plus 270 when I've been 275 when I was ripping it. Come on, that you got to cover the deal.
That's been almost a week ago now. Like I said, if you heard me say all the other trucks, I'd kind of forgotten about that. But yeah, Gio gets it was like a NASCAR 25 public lobby, gets shoved down to the apron, comes back up, doesn't wreck everybody, and comes ever so close to winning that race too. I mean, this guy's an ace on the super speedways. I feel like you can't ignore him this weekend at Atlanta either.
No, he'll try to be on the betting card in some shape or fashion. But overall, Elliot, when looking at the betting card for me, I was 6-1-5. Played about 12 units, ended up getting a little bit overly invested on Sunday morning when we got the Toledo lap market out from Bet River. So
yeah,
that was awesome. Ended up coming back with 20 plus units. So almost finished 8 units in the green. So that was just fantastic. Got that Geo top 5 on Friday night for plus 275. I was down half a unit on that. Jordan Anderson top 10. I almost bet the top 5 as well at 9-1, which I definitely should have. But I went a full unit on that top 10. That felt great. Someone we didn't really talk about, but like some of these underlying storylines from the truck series, like Michael McDowell, who's out there ripping. Ricky Stenhouse was a contender late in that one. But I had the McDowell outright. I ended up cashing that out for 1.5 units there on Sunday late in that race. The Bubba Wallace over 3.5 laps led that I put down in December, 3 units, minus 115. Got that back barely. Elliot, he almost got taken out in that Gator wreck. So that was a close one there. Over 20.5 cars to finish on the lead lap at finish. That felt like a gimme almost. Minus 125 down a unit and a half. Michael McDowell to lead a lap. I had 2 units there for -134, and Ty Dillon to lead a lap as well, +160, half a unit. So that was the card for me. A couple didn't come through, but the ones that didn't, I felt pretty good having a JHN 75-1 there. I felt pretty good about having a Geo 20-1 on the last lap. So how was the betting card for you?
Man, that is a great weekend for Daytona. Not as good for me. Of course, you have the more dialed-in betting strategy. I have the volume betting. I had 31 bets out there, and I hit 4. So that was Daytona. Yeah, of course, volume bets, smaller unit share. But I had a couple of the sneaky ones that I really liked hit. Toyota, I felt like was really undervalued. I had matchup bets Toyota over Ford and Toyota over Chevrolet, both at +160. They both hit because Toyota won the race. My matchup for the matchups contest was Byron over Blaney, +110. It was a bet that made no sense because they're both really good. Why are you going to put one guy at the plus money? That one hit. And then over 3.5 Fords in the top 10 hit as well at +115. Even though some of them came across the finish line completely destroyed. A couple ones that came really close, of course, the Hocevar outright that I had up in smoke in turn 1. Brad Keselowski might have had the run to take it on the outside. Didn't work out. McDowell top 10 would have been nice, taken out in turn 1 there. But then they're down the back straightaway. Chase Elliott's leading, and then I remember Zane Smith top 4, 22-1. And then he didn't end up spinning out, but still ends up finishing behind 2 destroyed cars in Logano and Keselowski. So it didn't end up with the top Ford. Then in the O'Reilly series, you were high on Jordan Anderson. It worked. I was high on Retzloff. He runs top 10 the whole race, ends up losing a run on the last 2 laps. He was like 13th or 14th or something. So those are the ones that came close. And that's kind of how I approach the super speedway betting. Is there's a couple of bets that I'll throw a little more on than usual. Thankfully, the Toyota bets and the over 3.5 Fords were ones that I put a little more on. But obviously, if you're going to have a bunch of bets and not many of them hit, you end up in the red. But I feel good about how I handicapped it. It was better than Daytona last summer, where I went 0 for about 15 or something like that. That didn't go very well. So to walk away with a little bit from a super speedway is nice. And I definitely have adjusted my Atlanta card accordingly. Not quite go so crazy, but it's the Daytona 500. You got to throw out a bunch of heaters and work better for you, not so well for me, but that is the beauty and the pain of the super speedways, man.
Yeah, I mean, for me, how I've dialed in on those races, it's the laps-led market, right? I preach it every single year.
That was the other point. I'm going to give you an early impressions of the books here. I mean, maybe that probably came up in the morning, maybe noonish or something. You put it in the Discord.
Sunday morning, I was at church when I got home from church around noon. I found it and started firing. So
part of it's probably on me for not looking a little earlier, but opening ceremonies are about to get started. I see that, and I go to try to log into my Bet Rivers to throw some bets out there. You know how long the opening ceremonies take. You get the prayer and the anthem and the commercial.
You're doing that the whole time? You're skipping the anthem?
No, but I'm saying I'm sitting there watching it, and that's about when that's all on. They go to another commercial. They start the engines, pace ups, everything. So I tried to log into my Bet Rivers to hop on that market when the opening ceremonies.
I got your password.
Started. No, I had the password. They have you do an authentication code. I got I got the authentication code on lap 59, so I couldn't get into that market, or I assumed I couldn't. I'm assuming they closed that market when the race started. So I tried, and I definitely would have gone with Bubba. Probably would have gone with a couple of those other guys, and they probably would have hit. But Bet Rivers, you kind of screwed me on that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. That's one I always know Bet Rivers is always going to have the offering, but it's only the Daytona 500, the Indy 500, and usually isn't going to come out until like the day of the race for whatever reason. So I don't think they get a lot of action on it, but it's one that I love to go on. I also had the Priest lead a lap, which I felt good about, but didn't come through. So you can't burn yourself a little bit. But like when Ty Dillon's sitting out there and he's led laps in the last like 3 Daytona races at +160, it's an auto bet. Michael McDowell, who's led a ton of laps at Daytona, like pretty much for 8 straight races. That one was a sweater though. I didn't hit that till like the very end, a little fuel mileage. Michael McDowell had like a 4-unit swing for me, 4 or 5 unit swing for me the last couple laps. So no, I totally understand that. And one of those things, one of our gripes, right? We would love to get action down sooner because a lot of these plays we want to give out on the show, we want to give on the Discord. Sunday morning doesn't help as much the listeners, so it doesn't incline us to invest as much into those race day bets. So yeah.
And of course, today I log into my Bet Rivers and I get the code in 5 seconds. So
yeah.
Shout out Bet Rivers.
Yep. Shout out to our guy Serial as well, who's in the chat saying he's a Larson fan. All right, that feels about on par for 2025. I feel like there's a good, like, if you're not a Chase Elliott fan, I feel like there's a good chance like Kyle Larson's probably the second most popular driver now, maybe I would say, if that's on a stretch.
I'm a little surprised that Larson hasn't pulled out a most popular driver in terms of the actual award yet. I mean, Chase Nation is really up there. They took a lot of Junior Nation, but Larson will probably get one before he's all said and done. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
I don't think anyone's ever going to beat Chase, bro. Like, honestly, like we got some dynamite drivers right now.
Bill won it for like 20 years in a row. Dale Earnhardt got it in 2001. Dale Jr. got it from 02 to 17, and then it was Chase. So
I think someone else was in there right before Junior. I think there was one more. No, maybe not. You might be right.
I think you're thinking. I think it was maybe like 01 was Dale Sr. 02 might have been Bill Elliott again.
I thought it was Mark. I thought 02 was Mark Martin, but I could be wrong.
You could be right. I mean, it's not something that people pay attention to because it's always the same guy that wins. I mean, that guy retires, it's going to be another guy that's the same guy that wins. So
quick side tangent, but like it'd be great if we could bet on NASCAR award markets like you can the NFL. And
Chase Elliott minus 300,000 to win.
Yeah, like you want to be betting that, or like I guess probably it's kind of a mute point because you get like Rookie of the Year, Cup Series, like.
Yeah, you couldn't even have that market this year because it's Zillich. It would be a no. But now if you talk about drinking a glass of juice, Chase Elliott for most popular driver, you're drinking the whole damn Minute Maid factory.
Might be a good parlay leg, put it with a little NFL future.
To win the MAC, huh?
Toledo to win No, Toledo's in trouble right now. Toledo's in trouble. They're not. I think we're staying clear of the MAC right now. They just they're taking money from just about anyone. Sacramento State just paid them some big funds to get in there, so probably no MAC future action for me this year, Elliot, unfortunately.
Understandable. Chris, I feel like this is a popular opinion too. Chase Elliott, pretty boring. I'll never understand the popularity. Yeah, I mean, it's part of that Hendrick trying to rein guys in. I feel like the big teams, you want your guys to not go out of the way and do crazy stuff. I mean, I've always said I feel like Bowman has the most personality out of those guys. He's just got that Matt Kenseth little wry sense of humor that it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I mean, Larson's got personality too, at least a little bit with all that racing. But anyway, we didn't mean for this to get into a most popular driver tangent. A couple quick news items that I thought maybe were just worth a one-liner. Jimmie Johnson, in his media availability, said that his last Cup Series race is going to be the 2027 Daytona 500. He'll run San Diego, of course, and then we'll run that race, and then he's done on the Cup side. Also said he's probably done on the IndyCar side. Might run more O'Reilly and truck stuff. Think he's probably got a couple more truck races this year is the rumor. So Jimmy Jam kind of playing it loose, playing it fast, and hoping he goes fast in whatever he wants to run. But on the Cup side, that'll be done after San Diego and next year's 500.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate Jimmie and everything he's done for the sport, man. And just great to see legacy kind of where it's at right now. Like John Hunter Nemechek was actually a weapon last week at Daytona. He was running really strong at the end of last year too. Eric Jones coming along as well in that Toyota equipment. So appreciate Jimmie. He'll be missed. But like honestly, like I kind of enjoy these Cup drivers and these legends to almost like come back in the lower series because like they have a better shot to be competitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Of course, Cup is elite, but the O'Reilly cars, they run more like the Cup cars that Jimmie and Dale Jr., those guys won races in. Yep. And then the trucks are just a lot of fun in general. It feels like every week this year, not just because of that Ram 25. Every week this year, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 truck entries where we're like, man, that's really cool that guy's running trucks.
Absolutely.
And then NASCAR is going to have another chapter too. Haven't had the time to dig in and do a lot of research because this was a late breaking story this afternoon. Remember how we were saying we think Chris Gabehart is going to go to Spire. He had left JGR. Turns out JGR is now suing Chris Gabehart because of stuff that he did on his way out the door, saying he was going to try to take proprietary information from JGR, use it illegally to go to Spire in a way that they didn't like. Again, there's a lot of research, just like in the previous NASCAR, that we can all look into this. But at the end of the day, now at least we know what happened with Gabehart, and JGR is not happy about it.
Yeah, just a couple things coming from the suit himself. Again, this is alleged, but defendant has synced his personal Google Drive with his JGR laptop, repeatedly conducted Google searches and online research about Spire during October and November. So obviously he was thinking about making this move. I bet the conversation went very something similar like, hey, Joe, like, I think I had a great year. Like, we got Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin in the Final Four. We would have won a championship if it wasn't for some BS at the end. I would like a raise. And Joe says, oh, sorry, Chris, we can't do that. And he says, all right, thanks. And then, Spire has a checkbook open, name your price. And, continued to, it seemed like, just to take like photos allegedly of like some very high confidential stuff. So like he might be effed here. He straight up might be effed up, Elliot. This is not the best like past setups you're hearing here in this type of information. So I like Chris Gabehart, and once again, Denny Hamlin finds himself in a sticky situation, kind of in the middle of some fuckus, if you would.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch. We'll update you as things come along and give you our wonderful opinions that I know you guys love to hear on lawsuits instead of racing. It's unfortunate that this stuff has to happen, but it's definitely going to affect the way Gibbs runs. It's going to affect the way Spire runs too, having somebody like that in the building. Now, he's not on the books in the building but it's assumed he's there clearly because JGR thinks that he's sending stuff over there. So that could very well affect their speed too if some of the stuff works.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Again, I kind of like there are alleged stealing of JGR information a couple years ago and nothing came of it. So they must be pretty peeved off, and it must be a pretty like flagrant offense for him to be in this hot of water. And hopefully he's at Spire. Who knows what happens with that after this? But yeah, not a great situation. I was thinking we could almost like do a role play at first, and like I could have been Gabehart and you could be Joe Gibbs, but like I didn't know if you had a great like coach impression. I also don't know, like, is that even a coach decision, or is that like a Heather Gibbs? Like, would you rather play coach or Heather?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not much of an actor, honestly. Apparently at Daytona I wasn't much of a bettor either. But at Atlanta, we're hoping it goes a lot better. Gotta love the super speedways, and we're gonna start to break it down in the horizon forecast. All right, so we'll break down the entry list and the weekend schedule for you. On the Cup side, just your main 36, JJ Yaley, BJ McLeod back at it. Mears in the 66 for Carl Long was going to go at it again. They had to tear apart enough of their Atlanta car to make the Daytona 500 that they had to withdraw. So nothing extra going on there. The O'Reilly Series, 39 cars, 38 spots. The most notable driver, Ross Chastain, making his first O'Reilly start of the year in the Jordan Anderson number 32. Truck Series, 36 entries for 36 spots. So no D&Qs here, but a lot of interesting entries. Corey Heim, of course, Truck Series legend, last year's champion, going to run the one for Tricon. Adam Andretti, who is, I think, Mario Andretti's nephew, a guy who's run some like Trans Am stuff, things like that. Going to run some Tricon races this year, starting out this week at Atlanta. I think he's going to run St. Pete, and it was somewhere in the neighborhood 5, 6, 7 races, I think. But either way, this is his first one. Kyle Busch's first one of the year as well in the Spire 7. So last week, the Ram 25, free agent driver, going to be exciting all year round. Every week, we're going to announce it the week of. Can't wait to see. The 25 car this week is Ty Dillon. I'm so excited, Seth. I'm so excited.
Hey, dude, honestly, Ty Dillon, I was looking up some statistics earlier. He's got a track record here at Hotlanta. He's actually a pretty good, like, if you're ever going to have Ty Dillon in the truck, not a bad place to draw him up here at Hotlanta, I think.
Yeah, man, but it's from smoke to Ty Dillon.
I get it. I get it.
Nice has some exciting entries again. Tyler Reif, who's going to run most of the races in the 42 in that car for the first time this week. Stenhouse back in the 45 there for Nice. JHN also back in the 62 for Friesen, and Hocevar back in the 77 for Spire. So a few of the guys from last week coming back in, and a lot of guys outside of the full-timers that are going to have a good shot to win, even though it was a full-timer that won last week. Weekend schedule, pending weather, supposed to rain a lot Friday, Saturday, so could be some changes to this. But for Truck and O'Reilly, their qualifying is tomorrow, 3 o'clock for the trucks on FS1, 5 o'clock CW app for O'Reilly. Saturday, supposed to have Cup qualifying at 11 on Prime. Remember, the first half of the year qualifying is going to be on Prime. Second half of the year going to be on Max, TNT, whatever. So it's going to be streaming on Prime, 11 a.m. 1:30 is your truck race, the Freight 208 on FS1, stage lengths of 40, 40, and 55. 5 o'clock on CW, the O'Reilly Bennett 250, as Chris mentioned, 45, 45, 73. Then Sunday on Fox, 3 o'clock, the Autotrader 400, 80, 80, and 100. Correct me if I'm wrong, and it may have just been I'm misremembering last summer because so many cars were out, but not as much of that stage fuel saving as there is at Daytona Talladega. Maybe just because there's not quite as much room to go 3 wide and lay off the gas pedal, but it feels like things are more exciting at Atlanta than it has been Daytona Talladega when it comes to those middle stages.
Absolutely. I don't really know what it is, if it's just the track configuration that, like, again, we're still kind of running on a 1.5-mile track, right? But it just has the setup for a super speedway. So definitely interesting. Always a good time, action packed really throughout. I remember, really these last few years at Atlanta have been some of the best racing you're going to see. It's one of the hottest tickets in the sport right now. I know Chris, our good buddy here from the Backroad, he's going to be going down there as well with him and Ian this weekend. So like, I know it's going to be a good time. Well, my only question is here, Elliot, like, why is there not a truck race on Friday? Like why are there no lights at Atlanta? Like what's the deal with that? Because like, to me, that just, obviously there's lights if the O'Reilly's here is starting at 5 on Saturday, because it's just like, I don't know, like you get all amped up, you're back truck racing. Like, we're going to be just getting into the cabin Friday night and like, throwing back some beers with some buddies I haven't seen in a while. And like, I'd love to sweat out a couple truck series bets. And it's like, what's going on here, man?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously they have lights. They run the Summer Cup race at night. Riley's going to finish tonight too. I don't know. There's just sometimes where that happens, but they feel like they can probably get more people to the track, maybe on a Saturday doubleheader in some markets. Maybe they just don't want to always run truck races at night. I don't make the schedule. Sometimes I wish I would with some of the decisions.
Maybe you should.
There we go. I'll sign up for that. And for Chris too, it's exciting that they'll be going. And I hope that the rain doesn't affect plans too much, because remember, Chris was going to go to Bowman Gray. Ended up being pushed back days and days and days, was not able to make it to the rescheduled race. So hopefully everything goes well. I don't know if it's the whole weekend or just Sunday. Sunday, I think the weather looks fine. Maybe even get in a little, 10 a.m. O'Reilly race if we have to before the Cup Series race on Sunday. Who knows? But either way, hopefully the weather is cooperative. But if it's not, whatever. Anyway, so let's start to break down the track here. Of course, EchoPark Speedway, its formal name. Atlanta Motor Speedway is what it used to be known as. 1.5-mile super speedway, races more like Daytona than Talladega. Kind of race is pretty unique too, Seth, like you were talking about.
Yeah, especially because like you kind of touched on it a little bit. It's the width of this track. It's just not the same as Daytona, nearly not the same as Talladega. I don't know on NASCAR 25, Elliot, if you fired up Talladega often, but that's one of those tracks where like you can get a little squirrely down the front and the backstretch, right? You got a lot of room to work with. Atlanta, you don't really have that. So it is really very much more of a handling super speedway. I think more skill goes into being good at Atlanta sometimes than some of these other races. Like you generally see, like there are some guys we'll talk about tonight, but Daniel Suarez, Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell, who just have kind of something at Atlanta that they figured out, I feel like, a little bit better than some other drivers. So like there is a little bit of a uniqueness to handicapping this, but it's still one that because there aren't as many places to hide when shit hits the fan, Elliot, you kind of have to pull back the reins a little bit as far as your unit allocation, specifically in the Cup Series, in my opinion.
Yeah, and hey, on my card, that's exactly what I did. And you're right, there's just not as much room to maneuver. That's what causes big ones like last year in the summer race where it takes out half the field. Yeah, Chris mentioning the horizon forecast video. Unfortunately, what we may see on Friday and Saturday. Atlanta traffic on a Friday night is my guess, the New York of the South. Fair point. I've only been to Atlanta one time, and there was a hell of a lot of traffic. So that makes a lot of sense. But that bad juju, Sunday looks all clear. Right, that's what I'm saying, is that Sunday's clear. So if O'Reilly gets rained down on Saturday, you can get double your money over there. We also have Bob in the chat too. Big fan of Chase Elliott this week in terms of how it looks. Think he wants to win at home, little extra incentive. And I mean, we saw that at the end of the race last summer.
Oh, yeah.
His first win in a year and a half at his home track, second win there. And yeah, really good place to break that streak, and always good to win with that home cook. And Dawsonville's a little far outside of Atlanta, but I'm sure that siren's loud enough. He probably could hear it from Victory Lane.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. All right. So let's start to break down some trends then. This is already the 9th race here since the reconfiguration. Feels like it's gone by really quickly, but we've got some data to back up now. I'll start with who's won the races. 5 Chevrolet wins, William Byron twice, Chase Elliott twice, and Daniel Suarez in that 3-wide finish a couple of years back. 2 Ford wins, Joey Logano has done it twice. 1 Toyota win, Christopher Bell last spring, and another would have been a 3-wide finish. He was able to take the win there. When you're putting together the model, I mean, I don't have it in front of me. I don't think Hendrick guys were really dominating at the top. I wonder if you think there's any rhyme or reason to them winning, half of the races that we've had here, or just kind of one of those luck things.
Well, I mean, you look at the top 5. There's 3 Hendrick Motorsports guys. They're up there. So
okay, so that's me misremembering. I think it was what Blaney is about 15 points ahead of everybody else, right?
That's the whole thing. Yeah. So when kind of breaking it down this week, like Ryan Blaney is in a tier of his own, and like he's kind of priced like it, right? Like there's really no action, in my opinion, that you can take pre-flop in the placement prop. If you want to take your shot at a 10-1, that's fine. I'll wait to maybe see what the price tag comes live. But like Ryan Blaney's head and shoulders, and then you have the other Penske boys in the top 10. You have your HMS guys, Kyle Busch, still hanging around there, Brad Keselowski, kind of like your usual suspects, if you would, Elliot, at these super speedway-esque races.
Yeah. Hey, forgive me, Seth and Chris and Ryan too, for not having that memorized in the model. It's one of those where, of course,
it changes every week. Give yourself some grace.
Right. But so I think Chris was saying this last week, that especially on super speedways, don't use it as the Bible, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And especially with how Daytona went. I mean, you had guys that were decent in the model that ran up front, but when it comes to these crazier tracks, I probably use the model a little less than I will when we get to Phoenix and Vegas here in a couple of weeks. Coda too, I mean, to look for some placement prop guys, but I mean, on the road courses, it's going to be SVG and Zilich, and SVG will be the top of the model, and Zilich's Asterisk would probably put him second in the model.
Yeah, pretty much that's the way it goes. And like, it's one of those things, like really for me this week was a lot about like finding the right prices, right? Like if 24-1 is the best I can find outright, and some book has it 31-1, and it's a guy I'm high on, I'm going to consider getting invested. When I'm seeing other books list bets at -180 and I'm finding at -125, I'm going to fire on it. That's really like, I think it's pricing enforcement and using that model also to kind of be your guide for that enforcement a little bit as well.
Yeah, and that's something you really got to keep in mind on the super speedways, as we'll talk about when we get into the odds a little bit. Keep in mind when you're looking at these races, summer in 2023, that was a rain shortened event. The fall 24 and spring 25 races finished in overtime, so some additional laps there. When you look at qualifying, 2 wins from the pole in those races. The other winners started 7th, 12th, 18th, 23rd, and 32nd. And I think the 2 pole wins, one of them maybe in that very first race, they were pretty early. So kind of like a super speedway, where obviously you win the pole, you have speed. It is a super speedway. It's not kind of like, but you can win from the pole. But also Chris Bell last spring wins from 32nd. Yeah. Guy wins from 23rd as well. You have the room to maneuver and shake and bake, to use Ricky Bobby's quote. You just got to stay out of the wreck and end up in the front. It can work out for you. Yeah,
there's less of this pansy hand holding at the front that, we're just fine running and clicking off laps. Like, people want to be aggressive. People want to get out in front, especially these end of the stages, man. These ends of the stages, and we saw it last week in Daytona a little bit too. That's when things are going to get extremely dicey, especially this season, Elliot, when these stage points matter more than ever.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we saw it last week too. Stage 2 at the end of it was when we had that big crash.
Yep.
A couple other trends to look at. 5 of the 8 races since the reconfiguration and 3 of the last 4 have had 10+ cautions. So again, it races like a super speedway. Keep that in mind. And a similar point to that, 46 or more lead changes in 3 of the last 4 races here. It'd be great if somebody brought back that Toledo lap market, because there'd be a lot of guys you could hit on that one this week too.
Yeah, I remember last year we did get a couple of Toledo lap markets. One was on Cindric, I think, in this very race last year, and I hammered, I think it was 11 or so laps led. So yeah, I would love it. I've been looking for it. Trust me, that was the first thing I was looking. I know the couple books that might list something like that, Elliot. And as of we sit here a little after the 9 o'clock hour on Thursday night, no go on that. But let's keep our heads on swivels and see what we get maybe Sunday morning for that.
Yeah, and hopefully your login codes work correctly, unlike mine with Bet Rivers. Any other thoughts on the model, trends, anything else before we get to the Asterisk Mark driver and hit the bets?
No, I think it's about everything, man. Nice work.
Cool, man. Well, hey, the Asterisk Mark, it's drivers of the week, because I just kind of lumped everybody in there. Each of Cindric, William Byron, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, and Ryan Blaney were among the top performers in that race last summer. They were all knocked out in that big one last year. Each of them were running consistently in the top 10. Cindric was your winner of stage 1. Joey Logano had the most laps led at that point with 51. They were all taken out among many others in last summer's race. That was an especially big one, where I feel like 25, 30 cars were involved. Some of them were able to continue. A lot of them were knocked out real early, and really probably the 6, 7, 8 best cars all wiped out in one crash. It's something that really doesn't happen that often, but the risk is always there which is another reason why, as you'll see in the bets, it's not just the chalky guys, not just the top of the model, not just the top of the betting cards we have to look at, because one guy makes one mistake, they and everybody else are all wiped out.
Yeah, I had a lot of money on Penske in that race, and I also had, I think, every single Penske driver inside my fantasy lineup for my Fantrax league, and I think I scored like the worst I ever had, like 76 points or something. Still went on to win the title, baby, because that's how we do it over here at IBT. But yeah, definitely put me on a hole, and I think that was one of the first races our boy Bob Bodner passed me for about a month and a half before I took it back in the playoffs. But yeah, so that can happen here. That can absolutely happen in Atlanta.
Yeah, and you mentioned the points too. There's a lot of guys who did not get the finish they wanted at Daytona that you're going to be jonesing for those points because a win is not going to magically save your season, catapult you into that top 16 with 10 races to go. You got to earn those points, and it could make the racing a little bit crazier in the stages if you have some guys that finished in the 20s or the 30s. They need some points, and they could end up back in the garage to get it done. All right, so hey, before we get to the bets, we want to shout out one of our partners here, Seth.
Yeah, absolutely. WannaParlay, longtime partner of ours. They create fun and exciting competitions that really just connect people. And again, that's why we try to play fantasy sports. That's why we try to get invested with the NASCAR gambling community, is because we want to connect with other people. Like, yeah, it's great cashing bets, but more than anything, it's awesome connecting with like-minded individuals who enjoy this sport and enjoy gambling on it. And WannaParlay, they really embody that, and they embody the joy of winning, the heartbreak of almost winning, and all the other emotions that you're going to experience during competition. It's from the brains of two former Kansas State college football players. Go Wildcats, baby. And it's all about stacking legs, competing with real sports lovers like yourself, and getting a real cash wins every single day. You can 1,000 times your money and cash out fast. Are you ready to get in on the game and flex those parlay legs, baby? Download the app for iOS and Android and get a 100% match bonus when you use the code IBT at sign up. That's code IBT to get a 100% match bonus at WannaParlay, link in the episode description.
Shout out to WannaParlay for being a part of the show, and shout out to all the fun that you can find in that episode description too, not to mention the IBT Racing family, and lots of good stuff going on there, including our sub channel as well. All right, time to crack open the bets for the week in the parking garage props.
Let's do it.
Man, I mean, I feel like we've spent a lot of time chatting about this book, that book, the other book, but any other impressions or thoughts you want to get off your chest before you open up the bets?
No, I didn't think the placement prop markets in the Cup Series were really worth the squeeze. I also I found one or two books. I think it was maybe the Score. I can't remember. Maybe Bet365. They had a couple plus money matchups, but matchups were pretty on point too, where I didn't see any a lot of value on there. Honestly, I think the trucks have the most value this week, Elliot. I think both you and I have a pretty large card for that series, so I'm excited to get to that. But just finding different ways to get invested. I think there's some good outrights out there. That's kind of my approach. I'm going to really sprinkle a couple outrights, take a placement prop here or there, and really try to get invested in that truck race on Saturday afternoon if we have it, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, it'll happen. We just don't know exactly when it'll happen. Yeah. I've got some more bets on the O'Reilly and truck side than the Cup side. Like I said, adjusted my card a little bit from Daytona. It's weird how FanDuel does their stuff. I mean, you can still find value in the top 10 market, but their top 5 and top 3 numbers were worse than other books. But there were still some top 10s over there that were good. It's just so interesting, the idiosyncrasies and the little things that make each book special that we can help take advantage of.
Yeah, and the bummer with FanDuel is again, they forgot the O'Reilly series and truck series even existed this week. They have no odds for them, and it's again.
I mean, last week at Daytona, they were the ones who had the top 10 market with the O'Reilly series, and now they have nothing. But
quickly, that was pulled within 24 hours of us doing this show. Really? I went back on Friday night to look at it. I guess it was maybe already after practice and qualifying. Pulled, maybe it was even the morning after. That. I think someone mistakenly put that up there because they've never put that market up there before, and I think they got hammered on it because people like me were all about Jordan Anderson on it.
Yeah, hey, as long as somebody has it for the road courses, I'll be fine with it. And it was a market. We bet a lot, not just on the road courses, but we hit some old Harry Burton top 10s last year and some other guys too. So again, I feel like every third week we're like, books, give us more markets, we'll bet them. But we still work within the constraints of what we have. But that doesn't mean that there aren't new markets, new ways to make money. You were talking about the markets like your Kalshis last week, and we have our first official Kalshi bet on your end on an outright here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've really enjoyed getting invested with Kalshi over there. And it's one of those things that, we have to keep in mind as gamblers now, right? Like, one, it's going to be legal in more states. So if you're from a state and you're like, hey, I can't bet, using prediction markets is a way you can bet because it's not technically betting and it's completely legal. It's trading, right? And that's how they kind of put this off on. So like, I'm seeing numbers right now for Alex Bowman anywhere from 22 to 28 to 1 floating around there. So I was able to get this at Kalshi. Again, they don't have odds, but it's 31.15 times your money. So call it 31 to 1 here. I'm going 0.2 of a unit. And again, just a reason why we need to have this in the back of our mind. Like every week, Elliot, I mean, also they're getting their stuff up quick, right? Like they only have outrights right now. They do have them for all 3 series though. I mean, before FanDuel, that tells you something, right? So, and for me about Alex Bowman here, the reason I wanted to get invested with him in particular, not only is that a great number at 31 to 1, but also 5th in the projections at a 71% IBT grade. Only 6 drivers this week have a C grade or better. Those are the high confidence or the higher confidence plays, I guess, because no one's really a super high confidence play here in Atlanta. But, everyone knows Bowman's good at super speedways, but I bet they don't know that he's actually been like super elite in terms of driver rating, average running position, and speed when it comes to Atlanta here. Actually 6th best in the next gen era in driver rating in particular. And even though like the finishes haven't been there, he's been fast on this track, Elliot. Total speed rankings at super speedways are top 6 in the garage in the next gen era as well. And he had the 2nd best speed to only Austin Cindric last week. So he's sporty again. So I think it's a good place to get in invested with Alex Bowman, specifically because he's been, usually starting towards the front of this field, usually top 15 and better when it comes to Atlanta. So if he can go out there and maybe put it in the top 5, top 7, there's a point where maybe Kalshi is even going to let you cash out of this even before we go green, which I think I'm just going to hold the 31 to 1 ticket then. But something to keep in mind.
Yeah, so that's neat to know that these books or betting trading platforms, whatever you want to call them, to keep it legal, that they offer cash outs. And it seems like I don't know if you've noticed that. Is it like a yes or no market, or is it just like kind of functions like outrights? Like, could I bet this guy is not going to win the race?
You can. You absolutely can. And right now, it's, if you're going to do that, you would take it to the O'Reilly or to the Truck Sears where you can at least make something on. It's not going to be much, right? Like you're going to bet $1 and you're probably going to win, 25 cents on it, right? Like it's going to be very steady juice. You can convert these odds a little bit easier. There's different calculators out there. You can take them. But yeah, you can bet the opposite side of this, which is cool. I talked about it last week. Like one of my best bets right now in the entertainment markets is like just a one lady not to win Survivor, right? So that's the other thing, because it's really peer to peer. It's peer to peer. You're playing against peers rather than playing against the book itself.
Yeah, hey, here's a fun idea if you got some money to blow. Take every O'Reilly driver except for Hill and Love this week and bet not to win the race and just make money on all 30 of them. Anyway, Bowman, I can't argue with you. Obviously, I have a sprinkle on his 25 to 1. Not a featured bet for me, A, because you had it, and B, because if I talk about Bowman every week and everyone's going to say, well, this guy's just talking about Bowman because he's a Bowman fan, I got to pick my spots. Atlanta would be one of those spots, though. But Chris made this point last week. Obviously, for Bowman, has not won on a super speedway in his career. It's one of those where he's going to finish 7th or he's going to crash. And that's how Atlanta's been. 2022, first year in the next gen, the summer race, running top 5 into stage 2, flat tire, crashes the car. That's this baby behind me. You can see the crash damage on it from the rear bumper. That was from 2022 Atlanta, all beaten up, the green paint from at the time it was, I think, the Quaker
Where do you
State
get something like that, my friend?
on the back of that. Hey, Facebook Marketplace is a beautiful thing, man. Some guy selling some Bowman metal off. Drove Bristol weekend last year to pick it up. Scraped my hand a little bit. That crash damage is a little harder than it looks, but nice little feature piece for the background here that eventually will have a nicer spot than just seeing the corner of it right behind my chair. Anyway, that's beside the point. 2023, I think you wrecked in one of those races. 2024, crashed in the spring race, the first playoff race, ran top 5, top 10 all day.
Yeah, there's some crashing in there.
Yeah, and 25 crashed in the spring race, but had some speed, was moving back up toward the front, and then of course was one of the cars battling for the win in the last bit of the race, led a fair bit of laps there. So I mean, as nice as a win would be, obviously not just for the betting cards, but for some people on the show, it's one of those where it's more likely, okay, he's going to run sixth or he's going to end up in a crash, and that's probably more likely. So maybe a placement prop on Alex would be better, but you're not going to get a plus 31.15 on a top 5 or a top 10. You're going to get that on the outright.
Yeah, exactly. And like this is what this is. This is price enforcement here. Like
Yeah.
Alex Bowman, to me, he was someone I was interested in betting on this week. I didn't really like the outright numbers floating around the book. So, hey, let's go to Kalshi, see what they have. And 31-1, it's a pretty nice price when you consider it's someone who is top 5 in our projections. And also, oh yeah, he's running arguably a top 8 car in the series.
Yeah, and a big thing though to watch in qualifying, if it is set by the metric, he'll definitely be screwed. But he'll be the 3rd car out in qualifying. One of the DNFs from that crash ran 40th last week. That puts you behind in the metric. Generally, if you're out earlier in qualifying, your lap is not going to be quite as good. It's less so in the super speedways, but definitely, I mean, I don't know if it's going to affect an outright number that much. I especially don't know how these trading markets work. But there's a chance that the 48 car goes and qualifies 27th, and you might be able to get even this 30 or 35 to 1 if you start 30th on Sunday morning. But either way, you got it essentially at a 31-1 here. So you can't really complain about that. That'd be a good price, even if for any Hendrick car starting last, any decent car in the series, that's a pretty good number to super speedway. I'm going a little more chalky, a little more juicy. It felt really irresponsible to not have money on Cindric this week. So I went ahead with his outright at 14-1. Penske, I mean, I didn't really get it last week. They were really quiet. I feel like, I mean, you saw Logano out front a little bit, Blaney out front a little bit, Cindric maybe out front a little bit. Normally, Penske takes pride in really dominating these races. It didn't happen so much at Daytona, but I'm looking at that more as an asterisk mark than anything else. I mean, late in the race, we did kind of see Logano and Blaney toward the front. Didn't end up taking the right run. None of them ended up finishing well. Blaney ended up in the crash. I guess Logano was up there. But it wasn't a Penske dominated. It's going to be one of these Fords that's going to win the race. But I think Atlanta definitely has been more of a Penske track. With Cindric, I mean, you can throw an asterisk mark on both of his Atlanta races last year. Running up front toward the end, I think it was Kyle Larson got into him, wiped them both out late in the race, ends up with a bad finish, even after running up front, leading some laps. And then, of course, in that summer race, like I said, stage one, led some laps there, qualified up toward the front, ends up in that big crash, kind of wipes out your day. Again, the beauty of the super speedways, they take it and they give it away. I think they've taken it a couple more times, and I think this is a very good chance of being a Penske-dominated race. This will not be my last Penske bet of the night. Mm-hmm. In terms of the model for Cindric, I'm a little surprised he's as low as 8th in the model, but I do think both of those crashes last year definitely have to affect that for Cindric. At a 14-1, I'm more comfortable with this than I am probably with Blaney or Logano. And it feels like Cindric is kind of more of that boom or bust. He's probably not going to finish 3rd. He could win the race. He could end up in a crash, could end up falling back. In terms of, I guess, maybe the win equity here, in terms of highest chance to go out there, get the win, pairing with the numbers and everything, Cindric was the way that I fell for the outright at 14-1 this week.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. Last year, if you remember, I was riding a 16-1 on him at Atlanta here. He had a shot to win late, and Kyle Larson just got absolutely greedy with him, put him in the fence. So, like, it's one of those situations for me, like, why I think he comes in a little bit lower in the projections than we were probably both expecting, right? Because I also thought I'd have him, you know, somewhere probably in the top 5 or 4 and someone on my betting card this week. It's the finishes, right? I mean, you look at driver rating at Atlanta last 3 years, he's top 3. You look at other things in far as just like driver rating at Atlanta, he's up there inside the top 10. You look at average starting position at Atlanta, he's number 2. Like, he has a lot of good stuff to him. The loop data is very strong. It's just the finishes here at Atlanta, specifically for his career, that's kind of dragging him down. And then honestly, like, his comp track finishes kind of suck too. Like, if Austin Cindric doesn't win a race, he usually ends up in the wall because he's such a good super speedway racer. People have to get a little greedy with him. Like, if all things were equal in this sport and people weren't taking the shots at him that they have, like, people would be calling him kind of the Austin Hill of the Cup Series, in my opinion. Like, I think he's like on that type of trajectory where he is just still, in my opinion, like you say, hey, line him up here. Like, we're racing for pinks. I want Austin Cindric, you know, back in my car. I don't love the 14-1. I would hope to maybe get a 15 or a 16, but like 14's fine. Like, and I will say I'd rather ride a 14-1 with Austin Cindric than honestly go after Joey or Blaney at 10 or 11-1. It just feels a little too short for me for Atlanta personally.
Yeah, and I think earlier this afternoon on Caesars, I think they had a boost to 16-1 on his outright. I bet it on that 365 just as part of I have this
nice,
amount in this book, and I'm going to put this here and that there, and all that sort of stuff. I was fine with the 14-1, and like you said, it's the boom or bust. More comfortable with an outright for Cindric, more comfortable with placement props for the other Penske guys that I'll get to. Before we transition into that, super speedways are your time to go for long shots, and as long shotty as these odds are, both very realistic guys to win this race. We'll start off with a guy who's won here a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely fired up here. Daniel Suarez, 40-1 at DraftKings. I'm going 0.3 of a unit on this. So a little more than a sprinkle, but a little less than an actual lay here. 12th in the projections for us. Suarez has actually finished P6 or better in 5 of 8 Atlanta next-gen races. Elliot's like, he's a real contender here, man, every single season. Third most top 10s in that span as well. He won once. He had 2 runner-ups as well. So he's been close here in addition to that win that he had a couple seasons ago as well. And like also particularly strong in the loop data. Average finish at comp tracks as well. The past 2 seasons have been good. Top total speed rankings in the next-gen era at drafting tracks. Very, very strong, and was actually 5th in total speed last week as well in his first race for points in Aspire Motorsports vehicle. So Suarez has honestly kind of come out here and impressed me. I know we had someone in the comments last week of our YouTube video for the Backroad saying like, hey, I think everyone's kind of missing the ball here on Daniel Suarez. I think we're missing it again, Elliot, because 40-1 is the longest we've seen him at Atlanta since that win, right? He was like, I think that day, maybe 35, 40-1, somewhere around there. Every time since then we've gone to Atlanta, you're looking about 30-1 for Daniel Suarez. So 40-1, I'd love it at FanDuel even more where I can maybe get a cash out for it, right? But I'll take a 40-1 to ride it for the finish for 0.3 of a unit.
Yeah, I like Suarez a lot this week. It was kind of a blind spot when I saw you had this in here. I was like, man, I really wasn't thinking about Suarez, but his Atlanta numbers, as you mentioned, really, really good. Mm-hmm. The outright, maybe a step too far. Maybe I'll look and see what it is at FanDuel. Maybe I'll angle for the cash out. I'll hook that hook, line, and sinker that one like you usually do. But maybe for a top 10, I think definitely for a top 10, I feel like he's going to be at a decent plus money number. Something I'm going to look at after the show. So books, keep your good numbers up there for another.
I was surprised you didn't have him. You're usually high on Suarez every time we come here, but maybe it's just one of the facts that like I've been off him the last like 1 or 2 times we've come here because I'm like he can't keep up doing this pace, and he just kind of has. So I'm like, all right, I'm back in here. And as far as the top 10 number for Daniel Suarez, plus 240 if you want it out there on FanDuel.
I don't hate it. Maybe a little after show bet that I add to my card here. Yeah, with Suarez, I mean, TK mentioned in the comments too, Spire car is going to be quick, whether it's Gabehart, whether it's not. I feel like Super Speedway is somewhere where they're really focusing their energy. I mean, McDowell's a great Super Speedway racer. We've seen Suarez get it done here at Atlanta before. And you mentioned first points race went pretty well for Suarez. He ran top 5 in the class too. So a guy who's gotten a hotter start in the 7 car than maybe we thought, going to be worth a look. Same with the guy who was runner-up in the 500 last week.
Yeah, man, I'm really, really high on Jim House this week. Give me Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 40-1 at FanDuel, 0.3 of a unit here on this one as well. Comes in 11th in the projections this week, like right above Suarez. So he's kind of in that same range, similar vein of driver, right? Someone who really shows up here at drafting tracks, actually number 1 in total speed rankings at drafting tracks. Total speed doesn't matter as much. I don't usually weigh it as heavy as some of the other metrics when we get to these tracks, but still an important one nonetheless. Number 2 at Atlanta in particular in speed. And really the important thing to remember here, Elliot, top 10 in 4 of the last 5 Atlanta races as well. 6 most in that span. P14 in the fall of 2024, the only race outside of the top 10 in that span. So this is a guy, you mentioned it, P2 last week, runner up. Like, when it comes down to crunch time, the pay window opens. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., baby, he is there every single year, every single super speedway we go to. So I'm on him there for the outright, and I'll also throw out 2 to get us into the position props. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. top 10 plus 230 at FanDuel. My biggest bet in the Cup Series this week, 0.7 of a unit. So I'm here for that one as well. Again, a guy 4 of the 5 last races at Atlanta, he's finished inside the top 10, and the other one that he did at P14. So I'm here for all the Ricky Stenhouse this week. Is that the scheme we're running this week, Elliot? Is that what that looks like?
Yeah, Chef Boyardee back on the car. Ended up a little banged up after that P2 last week, but I like Stenhouse this week too. These bets taste about as good as cracking up one of those cans of that Chef Boyardee, the beef ravioli or whatever.
I haven't done it in a while.
The nice thing is you can take that either way. You can say, yeah, he's crapping on those bets because they're bad, or you can say, man, it's one of those cheap, good value and pretty tasty bets here. So you take it whichever side you want, but it'll taste about as good as that, or as good as they have the cans of mac and cheese too. That back when we were in college,
I would never do it. You've done that before?
It was a good, college cheap microwave meal that I got a couple of times. Within the last couple of years, though, it's completely hands off. But there was something about it back in the day. Maybe it was just the little extra college, seasoning or whatever you can say, by just having the cheapest meal you can and hoping it tastes good. Either way, though, cool to see some brands that people recognize on cars. A big thing with NASCAR sponsorship, all the business crap and stuff that people can't go and buy on the shelves. You can buy some Chef Boyardee on some Walmart shelves before the race Sunday and have yourself a little nice Chef Boyardee with your winnings from these bets here. I have a little bit on Stenhouse too. One of the pre-made parlays from Caesars, Chase Elliott and Ricky Stenhouse both to finish top 10 at plus 375. So technically it's kind of a squad ride. We know Hendrick's good here. We know Chase is good here. Obviously we know Ricky is good here. So maybe I will go grab myself a can of Chef Boyardee for the race on Sunday, have a little bit of lunch and hope I end up in front of the TV and not somewhere else because of eating that for the finish line.
Yeah, I hope you have a better lunch than that. I mean, we had Trav last week who was putting in like this guy was smoking meats for 24 hours ahead of the race. If we got that, we can't be showing up with Chef Boyardee. I love all the Ricky Stenhouse in the world this week. Yeah, you ain't gonna catch me. I'll run some Chef. But like, I just it's like, hey, like the pantry's empty. I got a can of Chef there. Like, let's fire it up. Like wife's out of town. I ain't cooking for 5 days. Fire up a can of Chef. That's what I'm usually getting invested with the can of Chef.
Yeah, there we go. Hopefully you at least win enough on this bet to get yourself a can there, and hopefully many more cans too. Hitting that.
I'm buying a couple at 40-1 for 0.3 of a unit. I'll buy a couple.
You can go to a Sam's Club or a Costco and you can get the case. You'll be loaded up for a while. All right, so we cracked open the placement props. I'm back to the Penske file, cracking it open here. So Ryan Blaney for a top 5 at 2-1 on Caesars. I have a top 10 on Logano, minus 150 over on Caesars. P1 and P3 in the model, a little better than Cindric because they get the finishes more often than not. Way more comfortable on the placement props for both of these guys for that reason. Like we were talking about earlier, less of a fuel safe gimmick at Atlanta. Ryan Blaney, one of the people pretty upset after last week. He's like, man, I wish we could have done something, but we let the 3 Toyotas get in front of the pack and take their foot off the gas for 50 laps. I wish I could do something about it. Here's your chance, Blaney. Here's your chance, Logano, to go out there and get it done. Logano's a guy who I said I was down on. I don't think he really gets a win, let alone 2 wins this year in my season-long bets. But at the super speedways, Penske is going to look better than they did at Daytona. They're going to try to control this race. And again, if they stay out of the wreck, whether they win or not, I do think Blaney and Logano are at least around for the end to have a say in it, where I'm not so sure on Cindric. It's a win or bust for him. There's much more room for Blaney and Logano here. And like we talked about in the model too, Logano's all right, but Blaney far and away better than most. He does have a 13 percentage point gap at the top of the model. So crack open the Penske file, hopefully make some money on Rogers Gyms.
Yeah, I mean, you can't bet Blaney for a top 10, so you really have to go for a top 5 if you want to play him pre-flop here. As far as Joey Logano, I mean, I had a top 10 at a similar price tag at the Clash. It was looking good all day, and it burned me. So trepidatious is how I feel about it. But at the same time, I felt the same last week, Elliot, because I ran Joey Logano out in a bet for the Daytona 500 or just in my fantasy line for like 5 straight years. I finally threw him out of the fantasy lineup, said, oh, he's going to go out there. He's going to lead a bunch of laps and he's going to finish like absolute dog crap. And actually turned it around where he didn't lead a ton of laps, I felt like, on Sunday, but ended up getting a good finish for once.
Yeah, it worked out. This track, hopefully more Penske material than Daytona was this past year. One other placement prop, just a real quick one. Got to go Bubba Wallace for a top 10 at plus 150 on FanDuel. Most laps led in the Daytona 500. Still looking for his first Daytona 500 win. He might have had a shot at it, but after that first wreck, William Byron, even though he's running 20 mile an hour slower than everybody else, yanks it back up on the track. He says, I don't care. I'm getting back on the track right in front of Bubba Wallace, who checks up, is completely out of it there. He might have had a shot to win and may have ended up winning that race if not for that. Though Atlanta's not been quite as kind to him, 16th in the model. I feel like he is more of a Daytona, Talladega guy than he is an Atlanta guy. But Bubba Wallace is becoming one of those drivers where most every week you kind of have to take a peek at him and say, this guy's run pretty well here. He might be worth a little placement prop bet. Add that to his normal super speedway prowess, and I got to have a little money on Bubba this week.
If you like that, one thing I was considering, Elliot, I did a little research in the top Toyota market. Bubba Wallace has actually been the top Toyota in 3 out of 8 of the next gen races here at Atlanta. So like I was considering, should I get invested with Reddick because he's the highest Toyota in our projections? And then he popped up 3 times. Bell popped up like 3 times. And I think Denny Hamlin might be in there once as well. Reddick's in there once. So if you like it at plus 150, I think I've seen him for as high as, plus 550 on the top Toyota as well. So just something to consider. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. I was like, I'm just going to limit what I have in Cup. I got kind of a lot of exposure I want for Saturday, but it was something I was interested in. And dude, Bubba's been someone just like he's criminally undervalued by the books right now. He was last week. I think he'll continue to be. He was in the futures market last year, not so much this year, but there's always money to be made on Bubba Wallace out there. You have that matchup I really like against Josh Berry season long as well. So yeah, I don't know. Bubba Wallace just underrated, but by the sports books right now.
Yeah, man, I still can't believe you didn't jump on that. A minus 200 over Josh.
I'm not betting minus 200 for season long. Like I just can't do. Like if I would have got it minus 160 when it opened, and I would have pulled the trigger. I actually thought I might have pulled the trigger. Like I had to go back and like it was one of those I had to like look through my bets to make sure because I was like, did I bet that? Because I was really thinking about it when we got off the show, but must got distracted as usual.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to sit here after Homestead in November and say, I fucking told you should have bet that Bubba Wallace because it's going to hit and I'm looking forward to it. So you went with long shots more in the outright market.
Yeah.
I scaled back a little bit. I went with my long shots in that top manufacturer market that you mentioned. For the Ford, I'm running it back with Zane Smith, top Ford, same odds as it was last week, 22-1. I had it last week on Gilliland and Zane Smith. Didn't work out so well for the Todd father, but Zane Smith running second down the back straightaway. Like I said, my exclamation was not, oh man, Chase is in the leader. I can't believe this is going to be an exciting finish. I'm just Zane Smith, top Ford, let's go. Really pays off, ends up not working out. Finishes behind 2 crashing cars there. But and this is part of what I said with arguing with Zane Smith last week. It's not just that front row has run well on the super speedways, but he was solid last week. And last summer at Atlanta really, really impressed me. One of the 5 or 6 cars slicing and dicing at the front of the field that entire last stage. I mean, Bowman would take the lead, and then Keselowski, Chris Buescher for a little bit, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, and Zane Smith mixing it up for the lead there in that same Aaron's Lucky Dog car that he'll run again. Got to add a couple of points for that Aaron's Lucky Dog for sure. But yeah, top Ford for Zane Smith. And then this is one that I've bet a lot at super speedways, and it's bit me. But I'm going back to the well with the sprinkle on the Riley Herbst top Toyota at 30-1. He had showed some life. This is 3-4 years ago at this point. Top 5 on super speedways in an extra front row car, running pretty well. He's full-time. Last year was bad. This year started out not so bad. Has a chance to win the 500. Ends up junking a lot of cars at the end of the race trying to win the 500, but is able to find his way to the front, push his teammate Tyler Reddick to the win, gets his first top 10 as a Cup driver, or as a full-time Cup driver, all last year, his best finish. Maybe he did have a top 10 last year. Either way, it was not a good year for Herbst is what I'm saying. He started this year off a lot better, and at a 30-1 for the top Toyota. That's the bottom of the board. Obviously, this is going to take a little bit of a mess to hit. You're going to need your Bubbas and your Hamlins probably to wreck. You're going to need him to end up kind of a right place, right time. But he was in the right place, right time to help 2311 win the Daytona 500 last week. 30-1. I'm laying down a little sprinkle of salt. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a blind dog can always find its way home every once in a while, right? Like sometimes those ears, they do hang low, as they say. So I don't know, man. I think Riley Herbst had a shining moment last week. I just don't. I don't see it. It's a sprinkle
for the reason. I don't have the number in front of me. It very well could be the minimum stake you can put on a book. It's not a lot here. It's not a lot in unit share.
I will say, like, to your defense, though, to be honest, like, he's higher in the projections than I would have thought. He comes in 30th, right? Like, he's above some guys you would probably think that could be above him, like the ADs of the world, the Custers, the Gragsons, the SVG. So, like, he at least has that going. Like, he ain't like absolute trash this week. Like, he's at least respectable. Like, I might run him out in some DFS lineups, to be honest with you. Like, that's as far as I'm willing to go, though.
And no little sprinkles there. All right, that's it for the Cup cards. We'll talk O'Reilly and trucks here. And for me, call me dumb if you want. I went with a Jesse Love or Austin Hill to win the O'Reilly Series race, -140 on Caesars. It's just so obvious. They don't know how to beat these guys unless they take themselves out. It's exactly what we saw last week. Hill leading the race, making the blocks he needs to. Love, the only guy smart enough to try to make a plan to get by him. That's part of what knocked him back further than he could have been. If Hill was just running his bet, or if Love was just running his best, he'd have finished second right behind Austin Hill. Or they'd have diced it up, or they'd have both crashed. It could have been 2021 Daytona 500 type of deal where you have the two teammates who know how to do it, and they end up both knowing how to do it so well they end up in a fireball on the wall. Jesse Love falls back trying to get the runs, doesn't work out, ends up out in the back half of the top 10. It's just, I mean, it feels like it'll just take an act of God for somebody else to win this race. Mechanical problems, somebody crashing them. And that's what happened last summer. I mean, Hill, I don't remember if Hill was crashed. I know Love was crashed for sure when Nick Sanchez won last summer here. Love had crashed to the point where he couldn't run up front. And I mean, Hill had to have been crashed, right? I don't know if you remember as well as I do. Obviously, Nick Sanchez won that race. It's going to take something wild to happen for them not to win. So I'm okay with this glass of juice.
Yeah, this is one of those bets that I actually wish I would have found, because if I had unit allocation still available, I would have considered this. Again, kind of like saving mine for maybe if we get some O'Reilly Series top 10s. But I do like this type of bet. This is something I would have definitely bet last week if I known it was available as well. I almost just wonder, like, are you better off just taking instead of laying a full unit or whatever your unit allocation was on that, like splitting it up and going on the 3-1 Austin Hill and 5-1 or 5.5, whatever Love's coming in on this week. Like, I don't know what the math would shake out, but like, this is usually my type of bet, because I just don't like to lose bets in general. So this is kind of my type of thing. But I have kind of learned against these a little bit and just like, hey, I guess I'll just hit both their outrights.
Yeah, and that may not have been a bad idea. I don't think it was quite what you were saying, though, plus 300 and plus 5.
Maybe not. Maybe we're looking at like plus 250 or, and 3-1 now, maybe.
I think it was somewhere closer to that than what you were saying. But, yeah, it could be worth a look here. I just wanted to keep it simple. I'm going to put one bet in. It's going to be one of these guys, and I'm going to end it there. Doesn't mean there's not value. Like you said, there are a few drivers to watch if they put out top 10 odds, but we got a matchup first we want to talk about.
Yeah, give me Rajah Caruth -115 at Caesars against Brandon Jones. I'm down a unit half on this. You talked about Rajah preseason. I think you talked about him last week as well. Like, just impressive, man. Just really impressive. Started P7, finished P2 or P5 in stage 2, and then finished 10th at the end of the race as well. Like, he got into trouble a little bit here and there, but was able to keep it on the track. That rig is fast again, man. That is a good team. Their pit crews in order too. He was constantly leapfrogging people on pit road. And to me, like, I'm just going to go against Brandon Jones here. It's what I do best sometimes in the O'Reilly Series, right? Jones started P15 last week, ran around the top 10 before, getting some issues, running that DVB clock down as well. So, and in the Truck Series last year, Rajah specifically started P4 at Atlanta, was a top 10 truck most of the day before crashing. So, I will say, like, that's really, like, he doesn't have a ton of experience at Atlanta, but the year before, prior as well, he started 12th, was a top 10 truck most of the day, and finished P8. So Rajah's someone, like, if I could bet top 10s, he'd probably be in that market as well for me. I don't think I'd get even this good of a number though. So I'm just going to fade Brandon Jones. I think Rajah finishes somewhere between 7th and likely, 13th. I think Brandon Jones is a 14th through 20th place car probably if he stays on the track. And you know how BJ does here sometimes these super speedways. It gets a little squirrely out there.
Yeah, definitely a little squirrely. I'm very okay with anything to boost Rajah Caruth. I mean, I have a 65-1 title ticket on him. And like you said, the car's bad fast. Beat up car, still got the Xfinity fastest lap last week. definitely going to be a guy who wins a couple of races. I don't know if it comes quite yet.
I don't know about a couple. I think he might get one. He might. I like him. I like him, but like I like the car better than the driver. Like, no offense to him, if that makes sense. If that, just I think that team's really good.
Me too. I think that the car will just do. There'll be some weeks where the car does 75% of the work.
That's fair.
Maybe the best car takes himself out, and Raja is in the position to take the win. Anyway, that's not this bet. It's a matchup against Brandon Jones, and I like it too. And you did pick out a couple of drivers here to watch just in case the top 10 market drops, which I hope it does. Xfinity top 10s, O'Reilly top 10s this year. Probably my favorite market to bet on. And all these guys definitely would be guys to watch if and when some book does an absolutely beautiful service to us and puts it out.
Yeah, last year we were seeing them a lot on ESPN Bet, now the Score Bet, and also Bet 365. Last week we just saw them on FanDuel for under a 24-hour window. So that's where you're going to want to keep your head on a swivel for these. And if not, like even maybe consider, I'll probably still maybe have then just sprinkles on top fives for these guys, long shot style. But Carson Kvapil, the first one, average running position of 9.9 in his first Atlanta race last year, started 8th, was 8th by mid-race, average running position of 8.4 at Atlanta 2, finished second. So he actually got the finish really in that second race that he didn't get in the first race, running 81.6% of laps inside the top 15, finished 7th at Daytona last week. So Kvapil starting to show some super speedway chops as well, Elliot. And one of the guys I just think severely underpriced, someone we hit, or a car we hit for a top 10 at this specific race last year. It was Harrison Burton. It's now Nick Sanchez in at AM Racing. Long shot action for me here. I'm seeing the top 5 anywhere from like 4-1 up to like 6-1, 6 plus 650. So I think you can find something in that range, kind of split in half, maybe a 2 plus 250 plus 275 for a top 10 if we get that. Finished 5th with a late charge in his first Atlanta race last year. Wasn't a top 5, wasn't really a top 10 car, but battled late in that one. And then average running position of 7.8 at Atlanta 2. Won that race, spent over 90% of the laps inside the top 10 as well. And then Gio Ruggiero, this is a guy that you and I have talked about, just I think one of your worst season-long bets is this guy under 1.5 wins in the Truck Series. I think this guy he's the next one to me, man. I really do think he's a great driver. And like we've said enough about his super speedway prowess while handicapping the truck race last week, where we almost hit that 20-1, hit that top 5. And then like we were kind of watching it unfold with the IBT Racing family. A bunch of you guys then went back to the well on Saturday. I was like, hey, I got my Geo top 5. I got the sweat on the 20-1. Like I'm going to take it and leave it here. You guys went back for more. I'm going to go back for more this week. JGR car is also pretty strong at Atlanta last year. Not Brandon Jones, throw him out of the way because, it's Brandon Jones on Super Speedway, but Almirola, P3, P7. So Wallace, P9 in the spring. Taylor Gray, P5 in the fall. So 3 drivers I'm looking for in the top 10 market. If not, I'm going to take a little sprinkle in the top 5. Sanchez, Gio Ruggiero, and of course, Carson Cook and Kvapil as well.
I would say I like Gio and Sanchez maybe a little better than Kvapil. Nick Sanchez, we don't really know. I mean, he crashed out early enough last week. We don't really know what that car, what that driver has under him. So he'll be intriguing to watch. Gio, if a top 10 comes out, I probably will take it. Tricon kind of cherry picked this. They didn't include Atlanta in this stat, but 3 super speedway races, Gio's average finish of 1.5, the 1 win and the 2 second places.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
I don't know. They don't run more than 2 super speedways, or they run.
I'm not betting him at Atlanta trucks this week. This is usually his worst track in the trucks for a super speedway has been. But it's like P11 at Atlanta. So like again, if we had Truck Series top 10s, I'm there. We don't, so I'm not. Yeah,
I mean, it just stunk that he ended up crashing because I added some on the outright. Won the ARCA race, did really well in the truck race.
Look good.
The O'Reilly race. We'll see what happens this week. And for Carson Kvapil, I don't know about him on super speedways. One thing I do want people to take notes of for Kvapil, we figured out the races where he's not going to be in a JRM car. Going to be in JRM, the number 1 for like 24. They'll give him the 9 for most of the others. But starting next week at COTA. So it's next week at COTA, Watkins Glen in May, the Charlotte race in May, and it's Sonoma in the summertime. He'll be racing, but he'll be in the DGM number 91. So COTA, Glen, Charlotte in May, and Sonoma. I feel like Kvapil's got to be a no bet, but it is great. Same with Raja, that they're still getting these kids to be full-time, even if they have to split it between 2 teams.
Yeah, it just sucks because like COTA's a place he was ripping last year, right? And it was like he actually could be if he's in a JRM car, actually have some gas to maybe potentially hit an outright or at least a top 5. So that's kind of a bummer.
Hey, we get to watch the SVG and Zillich show instead. As I'm sure
Fair
Zillich
enough,
is
fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, better TV for us. You're right. You're right.
It'd be more fun to watch. Yeah, that'd be great if we get O'Reilly top 10s. Let's see if it happens. But like you said, man, it's kind of the truck race where I feel like we've got some of the big mojo this week. Starting in the outright market, I'm going Hocevar to 7-1 in that 77 truck again. Had pretty bad luck in all three of those races at Daytona. Never really a factor in the O'Reilly race. Ends up with some damage on that 42. Spun out 3 times in the trucks with flat tires in the truck race. And then leading on the last lap is good luck. Getting spun out, finishing pretty badly. Not so good luck for Hocevar, but all that seat time had to help him. He's another one of those guys that is probably going to be checkers or wreckers. He's not running it for points. He's the guy that Spire's behind, so Spire is not going to be too angry if he comes home with another truck that's a little beat up because they know he's, they're not going to be angry at him. They're probably not going to be angry at the guy you have a top 3 on either in the Spire camp, but Hocevar, the checkers or wreckers kind of guy, 7-1, I'm kind of okay with going checkers.
Yeah, I almost actually thought about just like jumping on the Kyle Busch outright, Elliot, really, just because like Atlanta, you think Kyle Busch, you think the Truck Series, it's just what happens. And the reason I really couldn't do that is because you have guys like Hocevar who can mix it up. You got Heim back out here this week, right? You got Ricky Stenhouse running another one, Ty Dillon coming back down. And then I think, did we potentially maybe have another Michael McDowell? Did I see that right? Or is McDowell not on this one?
McDowell not in this race. You may be thinking of John Hunter Nemechek is back. In the
okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So just a lot of good drivers, honestly, that was like, I don't know about the outright, but I'll take a -125 top 3 for Rowdy here at the score bet, 1.5 units down for me. So one of my bigger bets of the weekend. And like, I don't want to like make a habit of getting overly invested with Rowdy in the trucks this season, just because he was a little bit disappointing towards the end of it. But Atlanta's the place like I'm down to fire on him, right? 2 of 2 winning at Atlanta since the reconfiguration. Both those races with Spire Motorsports as well. So it wasn't with KBM. So I like him a lot here. He led an average of 56.5 laps per race in those races, scored stage points in all 4 stages, won stage 2 in both starts. So by the end of things, Kyle Busch was looking like the dominant car going into stage 3. And to me, like, this is someone who's just like, he's the all-time best driver at EchoPark, right? He's won 8 times. He's ripping a 6.1 average finish here as well. And he's leading laps in every single start here. Like think about that, Ellie. This guy finds the way to the front every single start that he's made here. I think it's like 15 or 16 in the Truck Series. He has found a way to lead laps. So again, I should probably hit him for that outright, truthfully, around 3-1. I saw him earlier, but there's some really, really good racers in this. We haven't even talked about some of the regulars either that we'll get into that I think have a shot in this one. But I'll hit him for a top 3, -125. Not going to get overly invested, but considering I've seen this for as low as -160, -125 feels like a valuable number.
Yeah, -125 for the top 3. I kind of agree with you. I'd probably just go with the outright. But this does give you some room if you have a situation where, okay, he's running up front at the end, someone gets a run and they get him at the line by this much, you're going to hit the bet and not feel bad about it when it comes to the finish. You'll be like, man, I hit that top 3 anyway, where we've seen that happen to Kyle Busch before in a good spot and ends up not pulling off the checkered flag here. I kind of like your idea of not getting terribly invested, because that's my thought on the placement prop too. I'm not going to be having Ram bets every week. I have a season long on Butterbean on the over for wins. That's a little wild. I'm not trying to bet on a Ram truck every week, because I think, especially when we get to the intermediates, the bigger tracks, it's going to be pretty rough for them if they're not ready early in the year. I know Chris Rice even said we probably won't know to Darlington in mid-March where we're at as a program, but the super speedways give you opportunity. And remember, it hasn't been too long since this kid Justin Haley was a super speedway ace in the lower series, has a cup win there, has some good runs and plenty of wins with Colleague in the O'Reilly series, plus 260 for a top 5. We saw him lead plenty of laps at Daytona, maybe even led the most laps in that truck race. He's kind of the veteran for Ram. I mean, Ty Dillon's in there this week, but I'm giving Justin Haley the same credit as Ty Dillon in terms of Cup experience and Cup driver stuff. He knows how these super speedway races go. And I think he's probably most likely these guys in the Ram camp to keep himself in the right spot, keep his nose clean as long as he can, and be there at the end to have a shot at it. And obviously he'll try to get Ram that first win back. I don't think it's quite there. I think a top 5, very reasonable, especially at this number.
He looked sporty last week, man. Like Justin Haley, I think he's kind of settling right in at home in the Truck Series, right? Like, this is a place he's familiar with. This is a place he's been for a while. I'm liking Justin Haley back here, right? This is one of those guys that you feel comfortable taking a bet on like this. So I like it.
Yeah, it's solid in my opinion. And like I said, the Ram guys, it's not something I want to do every week. On the super speedways, though, I this is a much more logical one than when I had outrights on Tony Stewart and Nick Lights last week at Daytona. You got a couple more of those truck regulars on your betting card to just about wrap us up.
Yeah, it's a bet of the week for me. Hammer down on Ty Majeski -115 at DraftKings versus Grant Enfinger. 2.5 units, biggest bet of the weekend. My favorite bet. If it wasn't Atlanta, like I had to control myself because like, should I bet 3? Should I bet 4? Should I bet 5 units? Like I love this bet, man. Like Majeski, absolute menace here in the ATL, right? 4-0 against the finger on the Atlanta reconfiguration. 6-0, 6.0 average finish in that span. You look at what Finger's done, 16.5. And then his average starting position, 5.3 in that span is Majeski's. He scored stage points in 6 of 8 possible stages, finishing second in 3 of those stages. 4-0 against Grant Enfinger as well on super speedway since last year. 4.75 average finish. To get this, Elliot, 19.8, almost a 5. Let's just round the numbers. A 5.0 average finish to a 20 average finish. He's 4-0 against him on super speedways, 4-0 at Atlanta. Like this, if you like trends, if you like stats, this is the bet of the week for maybe the bet of the season so far. I don't bet Majeski a lot, Elliot, honestly, but when I do, it's honestly been pretty profitable. So I'm down on Majeski there. I'm also down on the top 5 +260 for a half a unit. I saw this for as low as +155 at DraftKings. So I'll gladly take it for half a unit at +260 from our friends over at Caesars. Fired up.
Yeah, Majeski and ThorSport, I'm a little iffy on them for sure. But these are both kind of numbers plays and stats plays that you're taking that just as much as you're taking Majeski. Those numbers against Enfinger. I mean, Enfinger had that Talladega win a couple of years back to get him to the championship 4, but he's not a guy where I look at him and say he's a super speedway ace. And I don't look at Majeski for that either. But obviously, I feel like the equipment, you give Majeski the edge. And obviously, those Atlanta numbers. In the top 5, +155 on some books, +260 on other books. +260 is a lot better. I agree.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and round it out here in the trucks, Elliot, because allergy season right around the corner, Jim. Right around the corner. So it's time to load up on that natural honey. So I'm going to go ahead and take Kaden Honeycutt on that top 5 +250 at Bet365. Going down for half a unit here. Again, just like another pricing enforcement play, because I really want to get invested with Honeycutt. And I'd seen this actually for as low as +145 at DraftKings. I was like, I'm not going to take it up +145. I don't see a ton of value there. And then I continued to shop around, and the numbers kept going up and up and up and up. And we landed at +250, more than $1 of extra value there. So I'll gladly take that. This is a guy who he's finished P6 in a Nice rig at Atlanta in 2 straight seasons. And I'm not going to shit on Al Nice like Elliot does every single week when we talk trucks, but like it's not the same level as Tricon equipment, specifically with this number 11 program, the best of the best when it comes to pit crew, when it comes to man on top of the pit box, when it comes to girls and gals back at the shop there. So including last week at Daytona, man, like he has 3 top 10s and at the last 4 super speedways that he's raced at, 1 coming for each of Friesen, 1 coming for Nice, and 1 now Tricon as well. He finished 8 last week at Daytona, leading 1 lap, scoring 5 stage points along the way. So I'm going with Kaden Honeycutt, not a guy I bet often, but someone I want to get invested with here in Atlanta. Let's see if he can show up this week. It might take like a Corey Heim to not be super competitive, or Hocevar to wreck himself out to get there. Again, I would bet a lot of money on an even money Kaden Honeycutt top 10. So I'm squeezing a little bit, but that's why you're down to half a unit, not a full one on this one, Elliot.
Yeah, I agree. You're almost bearing the lead with his Daytona performance. Again, he's not a guy who's a big super speedway ace. He comes from the short track ranks, but on the back straightaway last stop at Daytona, it's that 11 truck that's in the lead. Just wasn't able to manage the runs as well as Gio and the other guys. Ends up kind of getting hung out to dry there. But a guy, obviously, like you said, best truck in the garage, really good driver who we were betting on pretty actively, driving a Nice truck, like you said, not as good. Driving a Friesen truck, makes the championship 4. I'm really excited to see what he does this year, and this very well could be the start of it. Showing some super speedway prowess, so I like this number. And again, good work shopping around. Bet365, normally my favorite book for placement props, because there's so much more value there for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got to round it out with something exciting that we've started off for the first time this year, our head-to-head matchups contest. To participate, it's in the Discord in the IBT Racing family. It's a paid feature, $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. I'll pull up our low graphic. You can see it there on the far right, the head-to-head matchups contest. Let's update the standings for this week, Seth, and that's a pretty familiar name up there on the top of the board.
Yes, sir. I put you up at top at number 1, Elliot. Don't know how many weeks you're going to be in the, tied for the lead here. So I had to give you your flowers starting off. So Elliot is in the lead with 1 correct matchup, tied, of course, with our boy Chris with 1. Blurry Kyle getting in on the action with 1 as well. Blaze Wolf with 1 correct matchup. Trav, who took down our touchdown call contest on the IBT podcast, he is also in the mix here with 1. Lars, a new member of the IBT Racing family. Shout out to you, Lars. We appreciate you, man, so much for joining, hanging out with us over there. Jake Perry with 0, Rod with 0, and myself with 0 as well at the bottom here. I love matchups. I'm the matchup guy, Elliot. So I'm in a little bit of a hole to start out here, but still time for me to catch up. And hey, still time for everyone to join as well. Like, if you guys have been considering, like, should I join the IBT Racing family? 1, you should definitely join the the free version, because you want to be in on the conversation. You want to be into those free giveaways. I mean, we just gave away the SVG signed die cast at the top. And like, if you want to come test it out for $3.99 per month, see what that betting model is all about, see our full cards in there every single week and the matchup contest, it's definitely worth it, in my opinion. Then you're getting all the features for the entertainment betting, as well for the golf betting, and then all of the things we're doing over on the fantasy football and NFL betting side. So a lot of fun to happen here, but I'm in a hole early, Elliot. I got to climb myself out here, buddy.
Oh, thankfully, it's only 1 point to none. My big commanding lead could very well be gone right here this week. But I like the matchup that I've got going. Jesse Love plus 110 on Bet365.
Right, last week.
I had the plus 110 William Byron over Blaney, then ended up working out last week. And it's just one of those where, and I've seen this in other books too. You talk about book pricing. A couple books had this as a minus 115 a piece or something like that. Obviously, still a reason to favor Hill over Love. I don't think it's quite as far apart as people might think. I think a plus 110 on Love, going right back to the well.
Hey, I like it. I'm going to go ahead with that Majeski over Finger. I'm down 2.5 units. It's the bet of the week, so you got to fire it up here for the truck, and hopefully I'm riding into Sunday. I already got back on the board here with 1. So come on, guys. I want to see everyone in there putting your matchups. And I know we have some paid members who aren't putting their head-to-heads. Like, that's one of the benefits you get. We want to see you win this autographed mystery die cast, and also the plaque that we're going to get from our friends over there at Dynasty Decks. That's thedynastydex.com. A great place to memorialize your fantasy football league, your fantasy NASCAR league, golf scrambles, anything. We use them. They're a great partner of ours, and we appreciate everything they do for us. So make sure you're checking them out. But Elliot, a lot of fun. Hoping I got second in the touchdown call contest, or actually maybe third. I think I might have fell to third during the Super Bowl, but either way, top 3 wasn't good enough. So I'm out for blood here in the head-to-head contest. Let's go.
That Dynasty Dex plaque is going to look great on this wall behind me for next season. Taking on the contest win. I can't wait for it. But yeah, shout out to them for supporting that. Shout out to everyone in the IBT Racing family. Again, if you're still mulling it over, great time to join. Lots of paid benefits. And the betting model. I mean, super speedways, it's wild. Road courses, it's probably SVG versus the field. When you get to Phoenix, when you get to Vegas, when you get to Darlington, some of these other tracks coming up, that betting model is going to be a really, really big help. So shout out to Chris, to yourself, to the stats we get from Ryan and iFantasy Race. Shout out to everyone here in the In-Between family in general. Always lots of exciting things going on here, Seth.
Yeah, no, live chat. Appreciate you guys. All the great comments tonight from our friends like Nick checking in, TK, of course, and the list goes on and on. Chris, Bob hanging out with us tonight, Marcus, Serial, a lot of the OGs here. Eric, we appreciate y'all so much. A lot of fun things happening. You can also check out everything we have happening over in the IBT Entertainment family right now. Elliot, we have the Survivor League about to start here, and that's actually, it is a free tournament that anyone can join. So if you guys are into Survivor 50 starting up, we have a fantasy league for that. You can win some prizes that we have going on over there as well. The golf family, the one and done contest still available to join, the weekly betting model over there. So just a lot of fun stuff happening. The easiest way to support us, though, Elliot, as always, come back, keep hanging out for the live shows. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Subscribe to IBT main channel if you aren't already. I'm sure you are if you're here. And then also the sub channel, the Backroad. It's youtube.com/@the_Backroad. You're going to find it over there. And a lot of bonus content we have coming for you over there. Elliot's race recaps. We're also doing bonus Xfinity Truck Series shows and Formula One IndyCar starting here at the beginning of March, Elliot. So I think we'll at least try to have maybe an episode bonus come out for maybe each of those weeks as well. That people, if they want to get in some open wheel race. I was talking to a guy at church last week about some open wheel racing and just like, hey, is it still the pinnacle race? And said, hey, they ain't rubbing in open wheel, but I'll still throw down here on IndyCar and some F1 fuckery every once in a while as well.
Hey, sometimes they're rubbing. It's just you don't usually continue racing after the rub. It usually takes
That's fair.
Yeah, the rubbing's not so good, but we love some rubbing. Rubbing is racing. What was his name? Robert Redford passed away. Played Harry Hogg in Days of Thunder.
Oh no.
Rubbin's son is racing. But anyway, we're not here to talk movies. You can talk movies in the entertainment family. The golf family, great work going on over there. Football family, drafts in Pittsburgh this year. All going to be a lot of fun to talk about, just like it is every year. But we know you like the racing the most, so you can subscribe to that Backroad sub channel to get just the racing stuff over there. Like I said, race recap shorts going to be coming out weekly as well. Most of the time it'll be me. Sometimes have you guys fill in, get a little more of yourself, of Rod, of Chris, out to everyone's screen at some point throughout the season too. Regardless, man, thanks for rolling on down the Backroad with us. Appreciate you, Seth. Appreciate everyone rocking with us. Best of luck on your bets, Atlanta. We'll see you next time.